All right, welcome back to the Trauma Therapist Podcast. My name is Guy McPherson. My mission is to help trauma therapists be their incredible selves, to be human, to be real, not just a clinician. I'm a big believer in who we are is more important than what we know. And this requires cultivating authenticity, genuineness, and vulnerability, and that requires intention. You can learn more about my courses and workshops by going to thetraumatherapistproject.com. That's thetraumatherapistproject.com. Let's get started. All right, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, folks, welcome back to the podcast. Very excited to have as my guest today, Valerie Huard. Valerie, welcome.
Thank you so much, Guy. I'm so happy to be here.
Appreciate that. So from trauma to triumph, Valerie has seen it all. She's a published author, speaker, and expert who works with people from all over the world. She brings you on a decluttering journey to declutter more than just your space. Valerie is the co-founder of DoWellHT.com, which we'll be talking a lot about today. Valerie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So before we get going here, share with the listeners where you're from originally and where you are currently.
Yeah, I'm from Quebec province originally, near Montreal.
Okay.
And now I'm in Ontario, Canada.
Okay.
I'm still in Canada.
Okay. So really interesting, Valerie. I don't know if I've spoken with anyone who's done what you've done. So break it down. How the heck did this start for you?
You know what? Unfortunately or fortunately, I suffered from childhood trauma. And from there, I got a diagnosis of complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And that means that I started accumulating a lot of clutter, both in my mind and in my home.
All right, hang on. So what age are we talking at here?
I'm talking age 3 to 11.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. But what happened is I continue my life. I become an adult. And then at some point, I was going to doctors, to psychiatrists, psychologists, EMDR, tons of different modalities. But I was not getting any better. And the doctor at some point told me, you know what? I don't know what to do to help you.
Did they know or recognize that there was trauma?
Yes, I was diagnosed. I was on medication. They did the MDR. They did lots of different modalities.
Wow.
And then what happened was really curious. My mom was wanting to help me, but yes, they were the trauma. It was a therapist dealing with that. But one day she told me and she asked me, Val, I don't understand. How are you cooking for an army? And she asked me that question because I had so much food in my house. I was hoarding food. Are you
cooking for an army? She said.
Yes.
Okay.
So I was hoarding food. And then I looked to my house and there were more toys than at the daycare for the kids. I had more clothes than anyone needs, 3 size up, 3 size up, 3 size down. Mm. So it was kind of my first moment where I realized, oh my God, I have clutter. But life continued, and we arrived at the point where my husband, JM, co-founder of DoWell, we were posted because he was military. Mm-hmm. So as military family, we moved, and the movers came and said, you know what, we cannot move you. So that was the first big shock. We cannot
Why could they move you?
Because we had too much clutter.
Now, if I may here, and forgive my ignorance, but is there a differentiation between clutter and hoarding?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
So I was having lots of belongings, but I was able to invite people at home. People were able to circulate in the home. It's just that all my hidden area were so packed that you cannot add an eraser. Okay. So all the storage room, the system room and the electrical room and all those kind of things were really packed. So what happened there is I had to let go of half the belongings. So JM has to move first and I stay behind with the kids. And that first night when he left, I cried And I cried for hours, and I hadn't done that for many, many years. It was kind of an emotional reality, an emotional shock, you know. And I was wondering, question like, am I a hoarder? Will I reunite with my husband? Why everything is happening to me?
Mm-hmm.
Is the world against me?
How old were you at this point?
At that point, I was around 25 years.
25 years. Okay. So pretty young.
Yeah. Yeah, still pretty young. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that brought me on the decluttering journey. So I started by decluttering half an hour a day and reading book about decluttering and things like that. And a couple of weeks after starting decluttering, I realized that I was more and more in touch with my emotion.
Wow.
So the fact of touching belongings, you know, when you touch your belongings, there's a link between the belongings, the sense of touch, and the limbic system in the brain. So that was generating a wave of emotion and memories. And because I was doing it progressively while decluttering, I learned to manage my emotion that way. And I learned to declutter and let go of what I didn't need in my mindset. So it was a really good experience, and we were able to reunite the family and all of that later on. Mm-hmm. And then I decided to say, there's other people like that out there, and I need to help them. So I become a professional organizer and start working with people on decluttering, and then specialize for people that has clutter and trauma.
Wow. Okay, hang on a second. So first of all, really, I mean, fascinating. And thank you so much for sharing this, your story here.
What is the link between the two? Maybe?
Well, not yes, but also I guess my question is, was there anyone who had drawn any kind of relation between your trauma and your cluttering?
Not in the medical world at all.
Not in the medical world or the psychiatric or therapist world, mental health world?
No, not at all. The question was never asked.
Right.
They were looking at me on the PTSD side.
Right.
And I see that a lot with clients. They are seen on the hoarding side, and they don't ask the question about PTSD. Or I see people that ask PTSD, and they don't ask the question about hoarding. Mm-hmm. I see that days in, days out.
Now, are you saying that you were cluttering as a direct result of your PTSD?
Yes.
And it was helping you. Was it a reaction of anxiety or what?
It was a coping mechanism, like building my nest, my fortress around myself, so I'm protected. That's one thing. The other thing is when you had a trauma, the brain changed the way it works. And people become on a higher level of alertness. Like the fight or flight response is always, the amygdala is always in request. So the cortisol raised in the brain, but on people that do not have trauma, they discover that it does not reduce as much as during the night. So it's always stay too high. Mm-hmm. And what is fascinating about that is, it's fascinating, but it's not fun. It's that it's slowing down the frontal lobe. And this is where are the executive functions. So we're talking about organizing, planning, sorting. They are all part of the executive function. Focus also, Mm-hmm. So when you arrive to make a decision about keeping or not an item, if you're not able to plan your decluttering, if you're not able to sort and to make decision and don't have focus over that, it's really, really hard to keep a tidy home. Mm-hmm. It's really hard. So people start accumulating clutter because their executive function are slowed down. I'm not saying that they're not working at all. I'm saying that they are slowed down.
So when you started decluttering, talk a little bit more about what you noticed and what you were experiencing for yourself.
I start having anger. I start having tears. I start having joy. I start having more energy, like not being crawling in my bed in the afternoon or on the couch. not needing a nap in the afternoon. So as I was doing it, my cortisol level started going lower. And my emotion were managed in a small dose at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned to manage all of that, and that completely transformed my life. Completely.
Now, so on the one hand, the cluttering was a coping mechanism.
Yes.
But how, in turn, did that help you work through the trauma?
That's weird to say, but it kind of went by itself. Like it was really like organic.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean by that is if I start by decluttering, I don't know, toys. At some point, toys bring some memory from my childhood.
Mm.
It may be Legos, for example. And then I let go, and I may have a flashback that happened, and then I deal with it, and it goes. And I learn progressively to be able to do not have any more flashback, do not have any more nightmare, do not crawl in the afternoon. So it's really a process. And I see that a lot with my client. When we work on reducing their level of cortisol, they really start feeling better. And they're more equipped to face the mindset section of the trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not doing therapy with them. I'm not a therapist. Like, yes, I studied occupational therapy, but I'm not a psychologist
Right.
So I'm not doing therapy. But when we're talking, we're looking at, I am here today and I want to be there in my life.
Mm-hmm.
What are the steps in between to get there?
Right.
And this is really what we're working on by letting go of different things, by as simple as washing your floor.
Right. I mean,
because some people do not do it.
Right. I mean, it seems what you're talking about here, on one hand, could seemingly seem simple. Okay, decluttering. And yet the way you described it is, you started feeling, you started having emotions. Yes. And those are exactly the things a lot of times that people are trying to avoid. So True. In a sense, it makes sense to me that people going through this would be wise to have some mental health component in their healing.
In their healing. Totally agreeing with that. Agreeing with that.
Yeah.
But we use some techniques like wearing a pair of gloves when they declutter, and that cut the emotion wave that they receive because they're not touching the object directly.
Wow.
So they still have emotion coming, but they're more manageable.
Huh.
So they're able to declutter 40% more when they wear a pair of gloves.
Wow.
And they're less exhausted after a period of, let's say, 30 minutes or an hour decluttering.
All right. So at what point, Valerie, did you say to yourself, all right, I'm going to create a business around this. I want to help other people. How did that go for you?
That was in 2015. And at the beginning, it was really to help other military family to be able to move and be able to be reunited. Because, in military, there's tons of trauma. So that was my first focus as a military family. And then I start having other clients in the city and things like that. And all of my clients were having trauma. All of them.
How did you know?
They just opened up to me when we were doing the decluttering. Is it because I'm conscious of trauma and I have a natural ear for that? I still did all my mental health course inside my OT studying. So is it because I was aware of that touch, But it really kind of become natural in the conversation. And then we reach out to different doctors and people that did research to try to figure out, is there really a link between trauma and clutter?
Mm-hmm.
And there's not a lot of research out there. There's some that they study that if people touch a cup, they are more susceptible to purchase the cup. They are more attached to the cup and things like that, like a mug,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But the thing is, we're talking about two taboo here. We're talking about trauma and we're talking about hoarding or clutter.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no money out there to do research. This is sad, but there's not.
That's interesting to me. because there's
resource
obviously,
directly.
there's shows online about hoarding and stuff like
Yep.
that. And that was a question I was going to ask you. Is there a link between hoarding, which seems to be on the far end of the continuum, right, of clutter?
I believe so, from my experience, but there's no data.
Got it.
There's not enough. Yes, I had a lot of clients, and we have over 28,000 people purchasing our book, but the thing is, there's no data collected scientifically about that.
All right, let's just pause here for a second to thank our sponsors. All right, we are back. You mentioned the book. Talk a little bit about the book.
So we had our first book, Put That Stuff Down, that was out and published in 2018. But we have our second one coming, Put That Stuff Down too. That will be way more complete. And that one it's on the print right now. So it will be out really, really soon, like probably in the next month or so. And in that one, we really include some of the explanation about the missing link between clutter and trauma. We're also explaining our 4-step holistic decluttering journey that allow people to really be able to feel better, to really be able to move to the next step and create the life they want by taking control over their home and their life.
So, okay, the book is called Put That Stuff Down. We'll have that linked up at the show notes page here at the traumatherapistpodcast.com. And when does Put That Stuff Down 2 come out?
It will be out officially in June.
Okay.
But people can already pre-buy it, pre-order it.
Okay. So my guess is that people who are coming to you are, quote unquote, ready to start.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. Okay. How do you approach this with them? Someone comes to you and says, look, I think I need some help. My place is a mess, whatever. What do you do?
First thing, I educate them. Because when they come to me, they often I've seen either an ad or hear about the book or someone talk about them, and they want to know about what is that link? Why I finally find that somebody is understanding me. Because often they have tried to explain that they're feeling that way, but they feel that nobody understands, or some have deal with their trauma on the mental health side, and they say, but I was never able to take control over my home. And I never understand why. And when we dig and we go through either looking at when the clutter starts and things like that, it's often linked to either a big triggers related to their trauma or the trauma itself.
And just going back to what you said, which I thought was very interesting, you talked about how cluttering was a coping mechanism for you. Yeah.
And I was also like acquiring belongings because of, it can be called shopaholic, like as an addiction, but it's not necessarily with money that I was acquiring belongings. That's why I make a difference. You can acquire belongings by shopping online, but you can go to garage sale, or you can go even do the garbage. There are some people that go do the garbage day and take the things that are still good in garbage. So that's why I say acquiring belongings.
Right. So you mentioned a 4-step process. Can you just briefly go through what those are?
The first one is called reduce your stress. This is where we work on really letting go of the cortisol. The second one, we call it the letting go mindset, where we talk about emotion, we talk about relationship, because the relationship with the belongings, we talk about authenticity, different subject like that. We talk also after that on discovering free time, where we really talk about routines and habits and how it is important if we want to be able to declutter and maintain.
Say more about that.
The discovering free time is about routines and habits, because when you want to declutter and when you want to be able to maintain your home, you need to have some of them installed. Otherwise, people declutter and the clutter is coming back. the declutter, they do the garage in the fall. It's so good. But in the spring, the garage is already full.
Wow.
We see that a lot. So
how do you work through that? Can you give us an example?
Yes. So the first 30 to 60 days that people are working with us, like we have some group program where we meet on Zoom, and they have an online curriculum to follow with videos. And they also have a workbook. So they have the different commonalities to learn the best. And then they watch maybe 10 to 15 minutes of video a day. So there are some learning, and they come on the calls, ask their question, talk about how it's related to them, and have that discussion and understand, cement the learning,
Mm-hmm.
And then after the 30 to 60 days, then we move to the mindset section where we discover emotion. We talk about those subjects that I was talking to you about. So then they learn about, okay, I want to let go. So I'm ready to let go of, that as simple as that basket of unpaired socks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that may have accumulated unpaired socks for 10 years. But in them, there's those tiny socks of my kids. And that remind me of that beautiful years when my kids were young before the divorce.
Mm-hmm.
Or before the trauma. So they have difficulty of letting go of them because of that connection. So we talk about how it's possible to let go of those unpaired socks, and then we do some accountability, and they finally let go of them and come back to us and say, yes, I did it. And they're so happy, and we celebrate, because celebration is so important in our process.
Mm-hmm.
Because when they are able to let go of something, we need to make the decluttering looking great for the brain instead of, oh my God, I need to declutter.
Mm-hmm.
So we make sure that by celebrating, we generate those endorphins and good hormones that the brain understand, you know what, decluttering is not too bad. I want to declutter next time. So it's become easier and easier to get started, because often people say, I want to declutter, but I'm not able to start. I'm procrastinating. I'm postponing to tomorrow.
Let me just remind everyone I'm speaking with Valerie Huard of dowellht.com. Again, we'll have that linked up at the show notes page at traumatherapistpodcast.com. The book is called Put That Stuff Down. This is really fascinating to me. So do you also work with people who hoard?
Yes, I do.
So you work on the continuum of hoarding.
Yes.
If you could use that term.
Yeah. Because I discovered that it's the same process.
Right. Now, let me kind of put you on the spot here. Can you kind of give us a thumbnail sketch of a client, someone who came to you, and how you worked with them and what they experienced and how they were able to move through this process?
Yeah, so let's think about, I will name her Irene, for example. And when Irene joined us in November, it was November 2021. So she was in Canada, and she was having the problem of having her heating not working. And she couldn't let somebody get in because there were about 6 inches of things everywhere on her floor. And of course, piles that goes higher at some place. But she was so ashamed that she cannot open the door to let somebody in to repair her heating. And we're talking in Canada in November.
Right.
So that means she was having a temporary heating system, electrical, but working all the time with some papers around. So that was a fire hazard.
Wow.
That was really dangerous. So we work with her to make her really reduce her level of cortisol by helping her using some different techniques like meditation, heart-brain coherence, the doer's reset, mandalas. We have about 10 techniques that we suggest into her program. And by practicing them often and including that in her routine, she was able to reduce her level of stress.
So this is the first thing you do.
Yes, this is the first thing we do.
It's, my mind is going, well, the first thing is to clear up the space, but not even.
Not
the
even.
first thing is to
the stress. And look how beautiful it is. I know that the level of cortisol is reduced when they arrive on a call, on a Zoom call, and they tell me, you know what? Today I sort my mail right away when it arrives. And I put in the recycle the one I do not need instead of piling up. So those little tiny actions that we know we need to do, but that we don't do when we're overwhelmed and overtired and on alertness. So they are able to do them. So when we arrive at that point, we're able to say, okay, let's talk about letting go and emotion. And they are starting to declutter some of the belongings at that point. So at that point, that client, Irene, was able to clear her floor.
Wow.
Okay, during the period we were doing the mindset section. And then we arrive on times and routine, working with her, like, for example, looking, okay, how is your bedtime routine looking? Oh, I'm going to bed at 3 a.m. because I'm not able to sleep before. If I go to sleep before, I will have nightmares. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's tackle that. How is your bedroom? Oh, it's full of clutter. Okay, we'll try to have your bedroom with a little bit less of clutter, and we'll try to fall asleep, go at maybe 10 p.m.
Now, during this time, are you bringing up the word trauma? Are you interfacing with a therapist? Where does that come in, if at all?
They often bring it on the Zoom call, but we're not talking about the trauma itself.
Right.
We're talking about the effect that the trauma has on their life. Mm-hmm. And so, for example, she can tell me on the call, you know what, I feel that I fell back in flashback when I want to tackle my closet. Okay, what's scaring you in your closet? I have that T-shirt that we made together, like, as an example. And then she talks about the story. And that was the T-shirt that they made, for example, on their first date together. The together is with somebody that become her abuser in the future. Mm. But she still have the T-shirt inside her closet.
Right.
So we don't talk about letting go of the trauma and all of that. But then I will ask her, okay, if that T-shirt is scaring you, wouldn't you feel better if that T-shirt is not in your closet anymore? Oh, yes, I will be able to go pick my clothes in my closet and put back my clothes in my closet when I need them. Okay, so we put on some gloves and we let go of that T-shirt.
Wow.
And that often frees them so much. They feel so much relief, so much pressure, that they feel way happier and peace of mind. And after that, they're able to declutter their closet because there were that element in the closet that we need to pinpoint and get out. Right. So they were able to now tackle their closet.
Wow.
So that's really when we work on mindset. And then, as I was saying, we talk about the routines. And that same client I was talking to you, when we were working on the mindset, like maybe 2 months after being in the program, her eating system was repaired because her floor was clean. So the person came and repaired it. And then our goal when we talk on mindset was, I want to have my grandkids come home. Mm. So we work on that. We let go of some of the belongings. And I will say that when we arrive in the deep decluttering, that's after looking at the routine, we arrive in the deep decluttering, it goes well, people are let go. We have checklists on how many pair of pants should somebody have? Right. How many, do we need 3 size up, 3 size downs? Or how many pairs of shoes? That's another subject.
Right.
So, but the thing is, what is fascinating is as they let go, they learn to let go of the heaviness of the trauma in their life, and they take control over their life.
Wow.
And when they take control over their life, they're now able to create what they want in their life.
Sure.
So that same person, Irene, after 10 months in the program, instead of being on disability, having difficulty breathing in her place because of the clutter that was dusty, she has no more breathing problem. She was able to invite her grandkids to come to have a dinner together. And she was even not on disability anymore. She was working part-time.
Jeez.
This is changing life.
Wow. Valerie.
All because we declutter.
Wow. Yeah. Man.
I know.
Fascinating.
It's a story like that I have.
So, all right. So people listening, if they want to get it, is this all online? Are you doing this all online?
I do that all online.
Okay.
So I have people all around the world. Most of my clients are in the United States.
Okay.
So if it's possible to put in the show notes a link to my program so people can see what the programs looks like if they're interested in working with me. And also that's on our website, but I will provide a special link.
Okay.
And also the possibility if they pre-order the book 2, they will receive the book 1 in audiobook and in ebook for free.
Okay. Awesome. Well, look, Valerie, man, really interesting. Like I said, I haven't had anyone on the podcast who's doing what you're doing, and just really impressive. And it's super inspiring that you're out there doing this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's really my client that inspire me daily.
Yeah. Well, I understand that. What's the best way for people to get in contact with you?
It's really with the link that will be in the bio. On it, there's all my social media that are there. Everything will be inside the link that we will provide.
Okay. And just, again, your website is dowellht.com.
Exact. Yes.
Awesome. All right, Valerie, pleasure having you on here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.